Unpopular Opinions episode 16. No one should be putting anything in the kitchen sink. The sink is not a place to store things until later. Dirty dishes don't go in the sink. If you pile them up there, someone will have to take them out anyway to put the plug in. They only go in the sink if you are standing there actively washing them. Tea bags don't go in the sink. If you're not going to put it in the bin, put it in a cup or something. Vegetable scraps don't go in the sink. If you've got a garbage disposal, use it straight away. I would rather have piles of dirty dishes full of food scraps next to the sink than a stack of wet food smeared plates, cups, and cutlery that I can't even clean until I handle them all at least twice or more. Okay, so when I first read the title, I thought they were implying that no one should be putting anything in the kitchen sink besides dirty dishes. No, but they just mean like straight up anything. They just mean that the only time that you're using the sink to wash dishes is when you're like actually washing dishes. So I'm guessing just getting the dirty dish, put in the sink, washing and all that stuff. That is the only time you should put anything in the sink, which I think is crazy. I think it's whack. Me personally, whenever I am making food, right, I'm spending like an hour making food, getting all the dishes dirty, then I'm putting in the sink and I'm eating that like in 10 minutes, whatever. All right, whole point is, when I am making something in the kitchen, I tend to just let's say I'm making pasta, I will, use some pots and pans to boil the water, all that stuff. When I'm done with that dish or pot or pan, I kind of rinse it off a bit, and then I leave it in the sink, and then I'll come back maybe that night or maybe like the next day and maybe have a little bit more dishes piled onto that, or just have that dish, or just sometimes I let it soak in the water so that way it's easier for me to rinse it. Other times I let it, I put the pot in the water, let it soak, and then I totally forget about it because that happens a lot too. But I mean, where else would you put the dirty dishes? You don't want to kind of have it like, if you're not putting in the sink, and let's say you have people over, right? You don't want to like hang out with people, have them use the dishes, and then once they're done, be like, all right, hold on, guys, I gotta clean the dishes real quick. I don't see that. I don't see it that way. So where else would you put it? You can put it right next to it. Me, I find it easier to have. I think it's better if the counter is clean rather than the sink, for sure. I think it's better to have a clean counter than have a couple of dishes piled up in the sink. I think that's way better. I would much rather have that issue. I just disagree. I disagree with this person saying this is an unpopular opinion. The next one is, it is not rude to walk through people taking pictures on a sidewalk or in any walkway. It's extremely rude for people to expect crowds to walk around them, though. Instagram and the internet are not real life. Stop inconveniencing all of society for your stupid bad photos. Please, everyone, walk through all the people taking up whole walkways to take photos. If you ask people to take pictures of you and it's right smack in the way of people, you are a lame ass. Thank you. I mean, yeah, I can kind of agree. The thing is, an example is, let's say if I'm walking on a sidewalk and I see someone trying to take a picture while on that same sidewalk, if they leave space for me to walk behind them, then I will take it for sure, If there's absolutely no space and I have to go through, it's should be. I'm the kind of guy that will I guess will be nice and just kind of wait a little bit. But I mean, if I have to, then I will walk through the photo and all that stuff, because yes, you are taking pictures in a public space where a lot of people will be walking through. I just think you shouldn't get mad if someone does walk through, because at the end of the day, you are, like I said, you're walking in a public space. The public are walking right through you, right by you and all that stuff. So you shouldn't be mad that you can't get the right photo because there's so many people. Dude, if you're in New York and you're trying to get a good picture, but people keep walking by you, dude, don't trip out. Come on, dude, you're in New York. Are you stupid? I'm the nice guy to, I will, maybe kind of stop what I'm doing for a little bit so that you can get that quick little photo. But if I have no choice, then yeah, I will walk through. So I just think... So yeah, I mean, I agree. It's not rude. You can walk through. Do I advocate for people to walk through other people taking photos? I mean, I guess not. As long as you leave some space for me to walk behind you while taking the photo, I'll take that for sure. But I just think people shouldn't get mad if someone does walk through their photo when they are in a public area where people are obviously walking through, But yeah. So I guess, yeah, I do agree. Although I feel like this person is a little bit aggressive on that take. The next one is roadside memorials where someone died and rear windshield, RIP grandpa / aunt Susan / little Timmy, etc. are unnecessary and a weird form of public grieving. I understand everyone has a right to grieve in their own way. However, I've always found this custom to be very bizarre and an odd display of public grieving. When someone dies in a car accident or similar on the roadway, a lot of times family and friends will construct a memorial at the precise location the person died. Billy died over on the corner of Route 57 and Johnson Street, so we are going to go put up a cross and wreaths and balloons and candles. I guess it doesn't have to make sense, but to me it's an odd celebration of death. Why memorialize the exact spot the person suffered the worst? Now in 5 years I have to see scraps of Miller balloons and faded photos next to deranged easement when I'm stuck at the red light. Okay, I guess. Okay, so that's not all of it. I will leave the rest of it kind of right here for you guys to read it. So this one is a bit interesting take. I've read some of the comments and all that stuff, and I think another thing that people have noted in the comments that I read was that yes, you know, people grieve in their own way for sure. I mean, some people do have it like on the back of the cars, which is cool, whatever. It's fine, honestly. At the end of the day, this is totally fine. Whatever you do to grieve, you can totally do that. Everyone grieves in their own way. Although someone made up a really good point of how sometimes people have memorials on like corners of streets. Most of the time, like these memorials by like red lights or like corners of streets, they're because of a car accident that happened and it took someone's life or maybe multiple lives, all that stuff, tragedy. And you know, sometimes people have a cross at the corner of a red light because maybe like maybe that road is a little bit dangerous, or maybe there's not a light to put up to kind of slow down drivers, all that stuff. So having like little memorials can let the public know, I guess let the city know, like, hey, there's a lot of accidents on this road, maybe you should do something to help prevent them and all that stuff. And those do help the cases. Another interesting thing that someone mentioned was how someone's brother, their life was taken because of a drunk driver, and the family of that drunk driver left like a little cross, a little memorial for the drunk driver and all that stuff. Well, the other guy is like, dude, like that drunk driver took out that Redditor's brother and all that stuff, so he would take it down. And that also makes sense too, right? Like some of these accidents, they're not just one story, you know, they're two different stories, they're two different people. And so like most of the time when it's like a drunk driver, like it's their fault and they're taking out someone else. And I feel like for some reason sometimes, yeah, like the drunk driver will have a little cross indicating like, oh, you know, R.I.P., you know, Timmy, all that stuff, which is so weird to me, and it is kind of messed up, you know, cause like for the person that, let's say, had their life taken by that drunk driver, you know. So this is a very interesting one. It's a weird. Do I think it's unnecessary? No, I don't think so. Everyone agrees in their own way. It's totally fine. Is it weird? I don't really think so. It doesn't really bother me too much. It's just like that. I mean, I don't think it's unnecessary. I don't think it's weird. It's just people grieving in their own ways. It just be like that. That's just how I see it. So, is it an unpopular opinion? I agree. The next one is nerds can peak in high school too. 9 times out of 10, when you hear about someone who peaked in high school, you hear about someone who was a head cheerleader or head of the school football team. However, I believe that nerds can also peak in high school because quite often they're the smartest in their class. However, once they leave school, they're up against other smart people, many of whom are literal geniuses. They go from having no competition to being up against seemingly the whole world. I mean, yes, I mean that's the whole point of leaving high school. You know, that's the whole point of peaking in high school, is that you go from being, I guess, the most popular kid or the smartest kid or from whatever, right, being the, you know, maybe the straightest kid, I don't know, maybe being the kid with the biggest ass cheeks, whatever. The minute you leave high school, you are up against the real world. You are up against everyone. I mean, yes, I guess nerds can, quote unquote, peak in high school if you think you're, you know, you can be the smartest person, yes, in your high school, and then the minute you get out of there, you're competing with like the, you know, literal geniuses, right, outside the world. But the thing is, you don't really tend to dog on the nerds or like the unpopular kids because, you know, like they were unpopular. They weren't really getting the attention. You mostly use it to just dog on like the high school, like, you know, like the popular girls, popular kids, the jocks, or the hot ass, I don't know, cheerleader that got freaking had a train run on her by the football team, or maybe the popular jock that had a train ran on him by the football team. You know, I'm just kidding. It's mostly used to dog them. Those, you know, people who peak in high school, the ones that got, like, I guess, quote unquote, all the attention. That's who's really used to made fun of. I don't really think you can. I mean, yeah, I guess you can dog a nerd for peaking in high school, but why would you want to when there's other people that deserve that loogie, that deserve to get made fun of, right? So, I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, they're right, but I just don't agree. I like that. The next one is, it's wrong for a widow or widower to end up in a relationship with their late spouse's sibling or best friend. Doesn't matter what, grief is a unique experience and they sought comfort in each other, or whatever weird justification people give. Would you really want your best friend or sibling hooking up with your wife/husband after you're gone? That means they're actually attracted to that person the entire time. Yes, I get that you're dead and wouldn't have thought of feelings about it, but it's still awful, gross, and immoral. Edit, you all made some good points about how attraction isn't simple and can grow. I definitely oversimplified it, and I know this isn't a black and white situation. Still gross. Okay, good. I'm glad this person kind of clarified that instance. Yeah, just because you started dating them afterward doesn't mean you found them the attractive the whole, the entire time. You could totally find attractiveness later in a person. Most of the time, like me, I find someone attractive like after I get to know them fully, like their whole personality. That's what I find attractive. Okay, anyway, going to the actual topic. This one, yeah, I guess it is kind of messed up. I think so for sure. Like if I passed away and one of my boys or one of my brothers ended up hooking up with my wife, oh shit, I'm turning my grave. Oh my god, I'm praying to God I come to life and I go and beat his motherfucking ass. I was like that. Hell nah, bro. Hell nah. Would I do that? Nah, I don't think so. I mean, if she's bad, nah, I'm kidding. No, yeah, like let's say my spouse died, I'm not going to look to her friends. Yeah, I think it is a bit fucked up. And a lot of people do that because yes, they both have that one relationship that brings them together is the fact that they lost someone. So it's nice to have that comfort, someone who's going through the same thing. And sometimes that does, I guess, lead to one thing and another. Although I do think it is a little bit messed up. But hey, everyone does their own things, right? Although I will say this, I mean, you are entitled to love whoever you want. It is a little messed up to go after I wouldn't say messed up. It is a little bit weird that maybe you will start dating their best friend, or their best friend is not too bad. But if you start dating their sibling, that is kind of messed up and it is kind of weird. But I mean, yeah, I guess you can do whatever you want, and it happens more often than not. I think it's weird. I do think it's weird because then sometimes people transition from like being their uncle to like their stepfather and all that shit, which is so weird. Like if you date your widow's like brother and all that stuff, or sister, it's just, yeah, it is kind of weird in that case. But I mean, people at the end of the day, they're gonna date whoever they date. You can't stop them. So yeah, I do think it's a bit weird, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I guess I would disagree. So I guess I would call it an unpopular opinion. But I do understand what this person means. Anyway, that's really it. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.